there is one of the most confusing relationships you can ever have. It is when you know somebody loves you. You can feel it. You've seen it. They've shown it. They may have told you. They miss you when you're apart. They're emotionally attached to you. They may even talk about the future with you. They imagine a life with you. They may say that you are the person they want. And yet, when it comes down to the actual choices required to build that life, they don't choose you. And that can be incredibly difficult to make sense of, because we tend to assume that if somebody loves us enough, their behaviour will naturally follow. We think, if they really love me, surely they will stay. If they really love me, surely they will sort this out. If they really love me, surely they will choose the relationship. If they really love me, surely they will stop doing the things that keeps destroying it. And when they don't, we become very confused, because now we have two pieces of information that seem to contradict one another. Their feelings say one thing, their behaviour says completely the opposite. And this is where people can get stuck for years, because when somebody's behaviour hurts you, but you can still feel that they love you, the love becomes the explanation for why you should keep waiting. You think, but I know they love me, and perhaps they do. That is the difficult part. Perhaps they genuinely do love you, but love is not always enough to create a functioning relationship. That is the difficult part that we can understand. Love is a feeling, choosing is a behaviour, and those two things are not always aligned. A person can love you and still choose alcohol. They can love you and still choose avoidance. They can love you and still choose fear. They can love you and still choose their comfort zone. They can love you and still choose not to communicate. They can still love you and choose not to change. They can still love you and choose the life they already know over the one they once imagined with you. And when you understand that, something starts to become clearer. The question is no longer, do they love me? The question becomes, what do they consistently choose? That is a much more useful question, because feelings can be complicated. Feelings can be contradictory. People can feel love, fear, guilt, shame, desire, loyalty, resentment, and attachment all at the same time. That's because human beings are very messy. But behaviour eventually shows you what somebody is prepared to live. That is different. You can have a person who says, I love you, and they may mean it completely. But then what happens next? Do they show up? Do they communicate? Do they take responsibility? Do they make decisions that protect the relationship? Do they make room for you in their life? Do they make sacrifices where sacrifice is necessary? Do they deal with the parts of themselves that repeatedly damage the connection? Do they choose the relationship when choosing it becomes uncomfortable? That is where love becomes real in practice, because love that never reaches behaviour can leave the other person emotionally starving. And that is a very strange position to be in. You are loved, but you're not secure. You are loved, but you're not prioritised. You are loved, but you're not chosen. And that can be more painful than being told directly, I don't love you. Because if somebody says they do not love you, painful as that is, there is clarity. You know what you're dealing with. But when somebody says, I love you, and then repeatedly fails to build a life that reflects that love, you are left with hope. And hope can keep people in a very painful situation for a very long time. Hope. The behaviour will catch up. Sometimes it does. People can struggle. People can grow. People can wake up. But sometimes it doesn't. And this is where you have to be very careful about what you are measuring. Are you measuring what they feel, or are you measuring what they do? Because those are not the same thing. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine somebody tells you repeatedly, you're the most important person in my life. That sounds wonderful. But if every major decision they make places you last, then which piece of information are you going to believe? the sentence, or the pattern? That is where relationships become much clearer. Patterns are difficult to argue with. Words can be beautiful, intentions can be sincere, promises can be genuine, but patterns tell you what somebody is actually capable of sustaining. And sometimes the most painful thing you have to accept is this: they may love you as much as they currently know how to love, and it may still not be enough. That is a very different statement from "they never loved me." I think people try to make healing easier by deciding the other person never cared, because when everything becomes simple, they were lying. They never loved me. It was all fake. Sometimes that is true, but sometimes it's not true at all. Sometimes the relationship was real. The love was real. The connection was real. The limitation was also real. And I think that is much harder to process, because now there is no villain. There is just a person who could feel something deeply but could not live it consistently. And if you've been on the receiving end of that, it can be heartbreaking, because it keeps you thinking, but if the love is real, why isn't that enough? Because love does not automatically create courage. Love does not automatically create emotional maturity. Love does not automatically cure addiction. Love does not automatically heal trauma. Love does not automatically make somebody confront themselves. Love does not automatically make somebody ready. And this is where people often start trying harder. You think, if I make them feel safer, if I'm more patient, if I stop putting pressure on them, if I give them more space, if I explain it better, if I love them better, maybe they will choose me. And now you're in danger of making their choice your responsibility. That is a very painful trap, because the more you try to become the perfect environment for them, the further you can move away from your own needs. You become very understanding, very patient, very forgiving, very accommodating. And because you keep seeing the complexity inside them, you keep finding reasons why now is not the right time to expect more. They're stressed, they're frightened, they're grieving, they're overwhelmed, they have problems with alcohol, they have work pressure, they have family issues, or they have old wounds, they need time. All of these things may be true, but there is a question you still need to ask. How long are you prepared to live inside the consequences? That matters, because compassion does not require indefinite self-sacrifice. You can understand why somebody cannot choose you and still recognize that not being chosen is hurting you. These two truths can sit together, and I think that's where maturity comes in, because immature thinking wants a simple answer. Either they love me, therefore I should stay, or they're not choosing me, therefore they never love me. But adult relationships are more complicated. Sometimes the truth is they love me and they are not choosing me. Both are true. And now the question becomes, what do I do with that? That is where your power comes back, because you stop trying to prove the love. You stop asking, did they mean it? Was it real? Do they miss me? Do they think about me? Would they come back? Those questions might be emotionally interesting, but they are not necessarily useful. A much better question is, what relationship are they actually offering me? That changes everything. Because now we are not talking about feelings in theory, we're talking about lived experience. Are they offering you consistency? Are they offering you respect? Are they offering you honesty? Are they offering you communication? Are they offering you emotional safety? Are they offering you commitment? Are they offering you a future that exists in actions rather than conversations? Or are they offering you affection without structure? That is a phrase I'd like you to remember. Affection without structure can feel like love, but it is very difficult to build a life inside it. You can have beautiful moments. You can have deep conversations. You can have chemistry. You can have history. You can also have tenderness. You can have an emotional bond that feels extraordinary, but if the relationship has no structure, no reliability, no choices backing it up, then eventually you're living on moments. And moments are not enough to create security. This is especially difficult if the person periodically comes very close. They tell you how they feel. They show tenderness. They talk about what they could be. They may even make promises. And when the time comes to make a difficult decision, they retreat. That creates an emotional pattern where you keep getting just enough connection to keep the relationship psychologically alive. And this is where you have to be very careful, because the strongest evidence of love is not always intensity. Sometimes it's consistency. Intensity can be beautiful, but consistency is what allows you to relax. Consistency is what allows you to trust. It's what allows your nervous system to settle. Consistency also tells you, I know where I stand. And when somebody loves you, but repeatedly does not choose you, you often do not know where to stand. That uncertainty can become addictive, because every time they come close again, you feel relief. You think, here we are. Now they understand. Now it's going to change. And when they pull away again, you go back into analysis. What happened? What did I say? What frightened them? What changed? And before long, you're spending far more time trying to understand their behaviour than experiencing the relationship. That is a warning sign. A relationship should not require you to become a full-time detective. And there is another important point here. Sometimes people love us according to their own capacity, but we judge the relationship according to the potential we see in them. We think, could they choose me? Could they? They could build this life. They could be this person. And maybe they could. But possibility is not the same as willingness. That distinction matters enormously. The fact that somebody could do something does not mean they will. Possibility is not the same as willingness. Enormously. The fact that somebody could do something does not. So ask yourself, what are they choosing now? Not what did they promise? Not what did they say 6 months ago? Not what did they say when they were emotional? What did they say when they thought they might lose you? What are they choosing now? Because relationships live in the present. And I think one of the hardest things for people to accept is that somebody can choose against the relationship without consciously choosing against you. Let me explain that. They may not sit there and think, I do not choose this person. Instead, they choose something else. They choose the drink. They choose the avoidance. They choose not having the difficult conversation. They choose not confronting their fear. They choose not making the decision. They choose staying exactly where they are. And by repeatedly choosing those things, the relationship becomes the thing that is not chosen. That can be incredibly painful because it feels passive. There is no dramatic rejection. There is just 1,000 small decisions that all point in the same direction. And sometimes that is harder to accept than one clear ending, because you keep waiting for the big moment where they decide. But often the decision is already happening through the pattern. That is another takeaway. People do not only choose with declarations, they choose through repetition. What they repeatedly do is what they are choosing. And when you start looking at it that way, the picture becomes clearer. If they repeatedly disappear, they are choosing distance. If they are repeatedly avoiding difficult conversations, they are choosing avoidance. If they repeatedly return to destructive behavior, they are choosing the familiar pattern. If they repeatedly ask you to wait while making no meaningful change, they are choosing delay. And none of this means they do not love you. That is the difficult part. It simply means love is not the only force operating inside them. Fear may be stronger. Habit may be stronger. Addiction is definitely stronger. Shame may be stronger. Comfort may be stronger. And sometimes people choose the thing that feels safer, even when it makes them miserable. That is human behavior. But you have to decide whether you are prepared to live with the consequences of that choice. That is your responsibility, not to make them choose differently, but to choose what you will accept. And that shift is huge, because so much relationship suffering comes from trying to influence somebody else's decision. You think, how can I make them understand? How can I make them see what we have? How can I make them realize what they're losing? How can I make them choose me? You simply cannot, not in any meaningful sense. You can communicate, you can be honest, you can explain your needs, you can tell them what the relationship means to you, you can set boundaries, you can give them information, but eventually the choice is theirs. And if you have to persuade somebody into choosing you, you do not really have the thing you are trying to create, because being chosen has to contain willingness, has to contain movement from them. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is stop auditioning, stop proving, stop showing them why you are worth it. Stop waiting for the day they finally recognize your value. Your value is not determined by whether this particular person can choose you. That is another crucial distinction. A person can fail to choose you for reasons that have almost nothing to do with your worth. They may be incapable of choosing anybody properly. They may be incapable of choosing stability. They may be incapable of choosing intimacy. They may be incapable of choosing themselves. And if that is the case, your worth is not the issue, their capacity is. This is where people often internalize rejection. They think, if I'd been enough, they would have chosen me. But what if they did not choose themselves either? What if they were repeatedly choosing behavior that harmed their own life? What if you were not the only thing they were abandoning? Can completely change the way you interpret the relationship, because now their behavior stops being a verdict on you. It becomes information about them. That is much healthier. And I think this is where many people eventually arrive at a very painful but peaceful understanding. They say, I believe you loved me. I also accept that you did not build a life that included me. That sentence contains both truths. You do not have to deny the love. You do not have to deny the absence of choice. That is where reality lives. And reality is where healing begins. Because as long as you keep telling yourself, they love me, so eventually they will choose me, you remain attached to an outcome you cannot control. But when you say, they love me, but today they are not choosing this relationship, you finally have something real to work with. And then you can ask, what do I choose? That is the turning point. Because perhaps for a long time you've been waiting for them to make the decision that would determine your future. But you have a decision too. Do you choose yourself? Do you choose peace? Do you choose stability? Do you choose a life that is not constantly waiting for somebody else to become ready? Do you choose relationships where love is supported by action? That does not mean you stop loving them. This is where people get very confused. They think choosing themselves means they have to stop caring. It doesn't. You can love somebody and still say, this is not enough for me. You can love somebody and say, I cannot continue living like this. You can love somebody and stop waiting. You can love somebody and let them make their choices. You can even hope that one day they'll sort themselves out. But you do not have to suspend your life until they do. That is a huge difference. And perhaps one of the most useful questions you can ask yourself is this: if I stopped measuring how much they feel and started measuring how consistently they behave, what would I see? That question can be uncomfortable, but it's incredibly clarifying, because now you are looking at the relationship that actually exists, not the emotional intensity, not the history, not the promises, not the potential, the relationship. What is it? How does it feel to live inside it? Does it make you feel secure or constantly uncertain? Do you feel chosen or occasionally reassured? Do you feel like a partner or like somebody waiting for the other person to become available? Those questions really matter, because ultimately love is not only something you should be able to feel, it should become visible. You should be able to see it in decisions, in priorities, in responsibility, in presence, in honesty, in effort. And most importantly, it should become visible. That's where the relationship really reveals itself. So, if you're currently caught in this situation where somebody says they love you, but their life does not reflect it, I want you to stop asking one question, do they love me? And ask another, are they choosing me? Not once, not occasionally, not when they are frightened of losing you, consistently, because that is the part you have to live with. Their feelings belong to them. Their behaviour is what enters your life. That's a big thought. And there is a very important line I want you to remember. Their behaviour is what enters life. You build it on what they are prepared to do with those feelings. That is the difference. And if the answer is they love me but they cannot choose me, then perhaps the next question is not, how do I make them choose me? Perhaps it is, why am I waiting for somebody else's choice before I make my own? That is where everything shifts. Because you have a choice too. You can keep waiting. You can keep interpreting every emotional moment as evidence that the future is coming. You can keep measuring their feelings. Or you can look at their behaviour, accept what is being offered. Or, and that isn't cold, it isn't cruel, it's not giving up on love. But it may not be a relationship you can safely build your life around. And knowing the difference can save you years. If this has resonated with you, especially if you're dealing with someone who tells you they love you, but repeatedly fails to show up in the ways that matter, have a look at my other videos on mixed signals, emotional attachment, waiting for someone to change, and learning how to stop searching for the answers that keep you stuck. These patterns are often connected. And when you understand what is really happening, you can stop blaming yourself and start making decisions based on what actually is in front of you. You're not broken. Sometimes you're simply measuring the wrong thing. Stop measuring how deeply they feel and start measuring what they consistently choose. I'm Sarah Wheeler. Understand yourself, understand others, understand life. And I'll see you in the next video.